sometimes prayer's the least we can do, and it's the most we can do right at the same time. So, our hearts are with you there. Tonight we're going to look at a sermon entitled Days of Adversity, and man, isn't it appropriate for things that we're going through in our nation and our lives right now. And it comes from Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 10. And in the English Standard Version, it reads, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." In some of the other translations, it's different, but I like to paraphrase it like this: if you falter in times of trouble, how small is your faith? Now, we talked recently about Peter failing to walk on the water. And remember, that wasn't so much a lack of faith on his part, it was pride that got him out on the water. He needed to see that that pride was a stumbling block. But when he gets back in the boat, the lack of faith was with the disciples, that they needed to have the faith that if they were in the boat, they were going to be saved. And especially with Jesus being there. You have the disciples in the storm in Matthew 8:26. Another encounter, same thing. They're fearful, but faith takes care of fear. Now, today's adversity must be the times that we call on and rely upon God to save us. To save us. To bring us through them. Because sometimes in this world there are things that just bother us so much, things that put the pressure on us. Sometimes we want to give up. Instead of steadfast faith, some people face adversity with all kinds of things, but lots of times it's excuses, right? And Danny was talking about some of this morning, okay? Some people say, I'm sorry, but, I've had a terrible day, right? Well, that's not an excuse for sinning and lacking faith. I've got a bunch of things on my mind right now. When don't we? Tell me when we really don't. We just always do. But faith is the thing that helps us to deal with all those things on our mind. It's been really tough on me lately, is another thing people will say. Well, yeah, should have started earlier relying upon the faith and not let things get into the condition that they are to where we say it's too tough for me to deal with. But that's our human tendency, isn't it? We let it go, and then we get there, and then all of a sudden we fall apart. My situation seems really hard. It's tough saying things like that if you're going to say them to Jesus, right? Think about the hard situation he went through on his way to the cross. So these quotes are often the disclaimer placed on an action or an attitude, and really these actions and attitudes are unbecoming to Christians. Unbecoming. And while not called excuses, because we know there really is no excuse, we know what an excuse is, right? It's the skin of the truth stuffed with a lie. Looks good, but really it's not, because we didn't deal with the problem at the beginning, we let it go, or we just failed to approach it in the right way. But we make them reasonings, we make them justifications for the deeds that we have or the attitudes that we have, and we just get started off in that wrong direction. So we feel as though we have the right to fall into disobedience to God because of the trying times in our lives. Oh, things are bad, I'll give in this time, next time I'll be stronger, right? Does that ever work? No, it doesn't. We got to learn to be stronger each time. And each time that we're stronger, dealing with whatever it is, we get a little bit stronger the next time. Because, well, listen, the devil knows us. The devil's around in a way and knows how to trigger us, knows where our weak points are. And perhaps he knows us better than we know ourselves. But if we can get to know ourselves and deal with ourselves and mentally, emotionally, physically, and more importantly, spiritually, buttress up to an attitude of strength. That helps in those days of adversity. Now, times of adversity are the times when our powerful Christian lives ought to shine brightly, showing divine power when human ability is exhausted. Okay. Is adversity handled with power beyond our own, or is it simply not handled because we fail to plead for sufficient power from the living God? And remember, God doesn't just give us power miraculously. He gives us power through agencies. We talked about the power of prayer recently, didn't we? Being an agency for strength and encouragement. Okay? Because as we pray, I want to go to Psalm 23. I got to get my mind focused on Matthew 6. All right? When you pray in this manner. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name on earth. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Remember, we talked about that. We manifest those things in our lives. We manifest those things before others. That has a strengthening effect in our lives. Okay? And so that's where power comes from. Our being together, our encouraging one another, our praying for one another, all those things that we do, all of that buttresses our lives against those days of adversity. And that's where that power of God really comes in. It doesn't have to be anything miraculous. It's as we build our lives, we build it around the power that God gives us through His Word. Now, next slide. Paul, writing to the Corinthian church, stated that the trials he was facing were truly beyond his human capabilities. And Paul was a strong man. Talk about strong personalities. You think Paul had a strong personality when he was Saul of Tarsus? I bet you he did, right? And when he got focused the right way, look how great of an individual he was. But look in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 8 and 9. For we do not want you to be unaware, brothers, of the affliction we experienced in Asia. What's he talking about? He's talking about days of adversity, right? That's what affliction is. It's not, oh, I got a splinter, how terrible my life is. No. I got to fight day in, day out for days and weeks and months and maybe even years, whatever this is. But he experienced it in Asia. What was that? Well, that was over Asia Minor, right? Ephesus and those cities that we've talked about. For we were so utterly burdened beyond our strength that we despaired of life itself. Indeed, we felt that we had received the sentence of death. But that was to make us rely not on ourselves, but on God who raises the dead. If God can raise the dead, what can He do in our lives? If He can give us hope, if He can raise the dead, He can give us hope. If He can raise the dead, He can increase our faith. He can get us through the days of adversity. Faith is the victory that overcomes the world. And there it is. Where does faith come from? Faith comes by hearing. Hearing by the Word of God. That Word of God has to be our constant companion. That bread from heaven, given to us from the bread from heaven. Oh, I heard that sermon somewhere along the line. I think that was this morning, wasn't it? Everything kind of works together, right? So, the apostle did not excuse himself from Christian service because he had the difficulty that was set before him. Things are too tough in Asia. I'm going back to Antioch in Syria, where the brethren treat me really nice. Okay? We talked about that, right? I'm not going back to Philippi, where those brethren, man, they treat me nice and they give me money to go do stuff. No. We're going to continue this battle because it's the Lord who gives us the strength. Instead, it was a tremendous opportunity to be a funnel for God's power to overcome in a seemingly hopeless situation. To be a funnel for God's power. Not a bucket. God didn't call us to be buckets. Right? Would you agree with me? God calls us to be funnels. Now, a funnel, when we think of it, the actual thing, a funnel, that's a noun, right? But what do you think a funnel is a verb?
An action.
Yeah, as a verb, there's an action. What does a funnel do? It takes something big and concentrates it into something a little bit smaller and in a particular direction. That's what the power of God is meant. Yeah, it comes through our lives, but we're to focus that into something in our lives. And just like we talked about the Word of God, like the manna, what is it? Okay? What are we supposed to do? We're supposed to keep it, and we're supposed to pass it on. And that's the way the power of God is in our lives. We get it, it strengthens us, and then what do we do with it? We pass it on. But we focus it a little bit. We focus it here, we focus it there, we focus it where it needs to be focused so it can be so powerful in somebody else's life. And that's what the Apostle Paul was doing. I'm not running back to Antioch. I'm not running back to Philippi. I'm going to stay right here, and the power of God's going to get me through it. And that power of God that gets me through it, I'm going to be a channel. I'm going to be a funnel to other people to see that that power of God gets working in their lives also. So, to take a wide flow and concentrate it in what needs to be concentrated on. James tells us that times of trouble are not only a trial, they're a strengthening experience. Or should be, right? Right? That's what they should be. He says in chapter 1, verses 2 through 4, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds." Sometimes all those trials of various kinds come at the same time. You know, boom, a whole Easter basket full of them.
Whistle.
Yeah, look out, it's coming down the line. "For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." Authority will only come by working through the trials of many kinds. We can beat the devil in one area, in one trial. He didn't go stop there. How many temptations did Jesus face? We know about 3 big ones, but if you go back and you read that, Jesus was led out into the wilderness by the Spirit to meet the devil, and it seems like for 40 days and 40 nights he was facing all kinds of temptations. We just hear about the big 3. Okay, day 1, Jesus beats Satan in one of these temptations. Okay, I'm done. The other 39 days I can party, right? It's not how it works. Because Satan's going to come back. He's going to come back. He's going to keep coming back. And you know what he did? You know what it says, coming down to the end of that passage about the temptations? Satan left him for us like a season. He comes back in Gethsemane. And in the crucifixion, the trials of crucifixion. Satan's always ready to come back. Always. So maturity will only come by working through these trials of many kinds. We avoid pressure, hardships, and discomfort, thinking that those will hinder our spiritual growth. But those are the things that promote our spiritual growth. Those are the things that help us become stronger. They're essential ingredients for spiritual maturity, true maturity. And as a result, we become, if we avoid them, what happens? We become spiritually flabby, right? We're unable to cope with the mildest of disruptions effectively. Think about it. Who are the ones most affected by troubles? The ones that will faith. So, when illness, a busy schedule, persecutions, disappointing relationships, or other inconveniences, those are just inconveniences. Put it in the entire perspective, you know what? I'm sorry. Yeah. And then in our lives, we fall apart, become spiritually angry and depressed, rather than rising to meet the challenge of the Lord's help. We got to be careful. We stand at the crossroads. Which way do we go? The way of the world or the way of God? We take the big way that everybody goes. Everybody does it. Or do we go the way the Lord wants us to go and grow through it? That's why I love the sermons coming from the Psalms with David. You know, David starts out, "Man, they were beating me down. Lord, strike them down." But usually at the end of it, he's praying for them. And, "Oh, Lord, you know, I'll leave vengeance to you. Help me. Help me." Spiritual growth involves unavoidable pain. Just like every child goes through growing pains. When I was probably 10, 11 years old, my knees killed me. Just killed me. I couldn't sleep at night. My knees hurt so bad. Growing pains. And it happens spiritually too. It can happen mentally and emotionally. It does. But it happens spiritually. Jesus could not receive the crown without going to the cross. And we're not going to get a crown of righteousness as Jesus has promised, Revelation 2:10, unless we pick up our cross and follow him. What was that? Luke 9:23. That are those days of adversity. We've got to wade through them just like everybody else. But we've got to make sure we're doing it right. We can't avoid such times. All we need to do is look at them as blessings that come from God. Blessings to be tested and to be strengthened. That's a tough thing to do. But I think that's what life is all about. We can do it with God's help. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. If you have a need, please let your request be made known as we stand and sing the invitation.